if you're a recruiter, LinkedIn is your life work. You've done a bunch of relationship building. You've got a huge connection network on there. You've got candidates and prospects that you can be selling to. You just may not really know how, or you don't know how to do it systematically with a system. Well, in this video, I've got a really good automation workflow to show you how you can tangibly take people you'd want to sell to and on a regular basis find out when is a good time to reach out to them, looking at open jobs and other similar information. If I just hit enter here and I hit people, now I have the ability to search for anyone on LinkedIn on my first, second, or third connections. Now, if I hit first connections, it will filter by my first connections. If I come here to all filters and I change this to software development, well, now it's only showing me all of my first connections that work at companies that come under the software development industry. So you're beginning to sort of see where I'm going with this. If you're a recruiter, you tend to work with, I don't know, venture-backed software tech startups. Now already you can start to build a database of companies personnel in your first connection that you can go after. But I mean, maybe we don't want to be talking to the software engineers or the senior full stack developers because they're not really decision makers when it comes to what we're selling. Well, you can go a step further. If I come back here and I hit all filters, I come down here. Well, now you can do Boolean searches. So I can say founder or CEO. Now it's going to whittle this list down a bit more, but now it's only going to show me people that have founder, so co-founder or CEO mentioned in their title, but also they work at software development companies. So you see how quickly now I've got a bunch of people that if I'm a recruiter, I can now go and sell into any way, shape or form. But we're going to take it even further and I'm going to show you in a minute. Well, what do we do now? We've got this, but Andy, where's the AI? Where's the automation? Just give me a second. Now, there's an amazing tool on the market called Unipal. Unipal is a LinkedIn automation platform that allows you to hook up your account and just do things programmatically on LinkedIn. Of course, with all of these tools, you do need to be careful. I will say Unipal is the best tool out there because Unipal is the tool that everyone else uses under the hood. So everyone trusts Unipal. I've been using them for a while. I've had no issues at all. Just make sure you're not doing anything silly. You're not scraping the whole of LinkedIn in 5 minutes, then you'll be in big trouble. But this tool is really, really good and very, very extensive. I can go into a bunch more videos in the future, but for now, we'll keep it very, very simple. Unipal have a documentation section, which kind of shows you what you can do on the platform. And as you can see, there's a lot of things. Now I'm going to come here and just hit API reference, and I'm going to come down to LinkedIn specific. And then I'm going to come even further down, and I'm going to look for something that says, if I can find it, don't embarrass me, perform a LinkedIn search. This pretty much allows you to take any URL on LinkedIn, throw it into this API, and it will return like the items inside of it. Let me just give you an example, will be much better. So as we just did, we just built our list of software development founders or co-founders. Well, I'm going to copy this list and I'm going to head over to a tool called Postman. Postman is just a tool which allows you to do API calls very easily. It's got a nice interface. If you're starting to do this automation, go-to-market stuff more, you probably do want to use this tool. Totally free, but it makes it a lot easier. And then as you can see here, I want to come to this URL section and just remove this and paste this in. You may be thinking, hey, Andy, where did all of this come from? Very, very simple. I don't want to share my IDs, but you would come over to Unipal, and when you create an account, you'll be given a subdomain and a port, and then you just hook it up to the rest of this URL. It's pretty simple and self-explanatory. So if I hit enter here, what you'll begin to see is now you will see that it literally did that search that I did moments ago, but programmatically. You can see Noah. If I come here, you see Noah. Then we should have Shuaib, Paddy, and Mohammed. Sorry, Shuaib, I hope I didn't butcher your name. Shuaib, Paddy, and then Mohammed. So you can see it's done all of this through the API. So great, we've got somewhere now. But how do we take it even further? Well, we're going to head on to my favorite tool called NAN. And I talk a lot about this tool, way too much. So I'm not going to bother speaking any more about it now. I'm just going to show you. You'll come into NAN, and I've kind of already built up the base because I didn't want to spend too much time sort of going over it, but I will go over it now. I didn't want to spend too much time, doing it. So we have a HTTP node here, which is what we're basically calling Unipal. Same thing as we're doing in Postman, but we're now doing it inside of NAN. If I open this up, we can see I've got my URLs, got my account ID, setting a limit, and I passed in this URL. I'll just change it to make sure it's the exact same as it was before. And then what else do I want to do? And I have this pagination. This is because it only returns 50 at a time, but if we have more than 50, we want it to keep on running and passing in a different, we call it cursor, which basically says, hey, after you've grabbed the first 50, from that same, from the 50th one, grab the next 50 and keep on going until you have none left. So if I run it now, you'll probably see that it might run twice because I think I have 72 from when I last tried it, but we'll find out in a second. Oh, there's 3. I have more this time. 117. I think the filter's slightly different from before, when I tested this beforehand, but my point still persists. So if I open this up, you can see we have a bunch of people, Noah again, and all Noah and friends, and we're using this split out node in NAN, which I'll do a separate video where I deep dive into NAN, but to put it simply, this will just take an array and turn it into items, which is NAN's way of distinguishing the two. What this means is this will the subsequent node will run as many times as the items there are. So when I send this to Clay, it's going to send all 117 items to Clay, which leads me to my next point. What do we do from now? Well, I just showed you a really cool way to get people you can sell into, but wouldn't it be good to know a bit more, right? I mean, we are a recruitment agency, so wouldn't it be nice to know if any of these founders are hiring? Because now we should really get in front of them. We are already part of our network. So we're going to do that in Clay. Prefix, you can do this in NAN, but I'm not going to do so for now because I think Clay is easier for me to show you how things look with the nice UI. But then I can show you how you would do it if you were to use NAN. It'd be very, very simple. So before we even run this, we need to make sure that we have all the right information. So this URL, I believe, is old. So I'll come here to Clay and I'm going to hit add. And I want to create a new table from a webhook. And I'll create the source. And then it's going to give me a URL to use. I'm going to copy that URL. Then I'm going to come back into my NAN and I'm going to paste it in right here. Done. Now what this will do is this should then pretty much take all of these and begin to add them into our Clay table. Now if I execute it for now, you should see that they start to get added like so. Now I'm going to pause it because I don't want to run it right now. I'm going to hit stop. But as you can see, it added 10 and now 20 of all of those people into our Clay table. Now, what do we do in Clay? In Clay is where we really want to start, finding out, hey, do they have open jobs? But we have one problem, and that problem is if we open up our webhook, we only have the profile URL, which isn't bad. I mean, if I click on it, it will take me right to Shui in this instance, but I don't have anything else. I want to know what company she's actually at. I only have the profile URL. Well, this is where we can use something called data enrichment. So I'll come back into Clay and I want to hit add a column. And I want to add an enrichment and I want to enrich the person. And I want to pass in this instance, phase URL, LinkedIn URL, and it should then give me all of our actual LinkedIn information. So I need to keep on moving this out the way. And I'll hit save and I want to run just 10 rows for now. And if I do that, we should begin to see all of these people get populated with their information. There she is, fantastic. Now I can begin to see, okay, creative director, this, that, and the third. But what I'm really looking for here is the company, because we want to find out if the company hiring, right? So we want to go to maybe current experience, and then we want to take the company ID, which is null for some reason. If I come back here and I look, it might give me some reason why. It says stealth. That could be partly the reason. But really and truly, we should actually have a LinkedIn URL. So her company ID rather. If I look at this latest experience, this is null as well. So if I go to this guy, let's have a look here. And his is also null, but he's working at a stealth startup. So stealth startups tend to have no company ID because they don't want anyone to know that they're starting their company. But if I go to this guy, company ID, they all seem to be null, which is really frustrating. But what I can do actually, no issues. I'll take the URL instead, and with the URL, we can still enrich the company. So, but what I mean by that is I'll add a new one here and I'll say add enrichment and I will say enrich company. And then what we will do, it will pass in the URL of the organization they're working at. We don't need the company ID. The URL is enough in itself. And I only want to run if the latest experience URL is present. If it's not present, we don't want to run this row. Up here is correct. And then just run it for the first 10 rows. And we'll see what happens here. And amazing, it begins to give me all of the companies. Fantastic. Yep, stealth startup, this, that, and the third. Now, what I noticed is when we were checking Frey, I noticed that her company was luxury goods and jewelry. But if you remember, didn't it say we only wanted software development? And this is kind of LinkedIn's issue, which is sometimes LinkedIn, it gets a bit finicky when you do the searches in the platform, which is actually why these third-party tools tend to be better when it comes to looking through LinkedIn, which doesn't make any sense, I know, but LinkedIn is just like that sometimes. Also, sometimes it will look at people's past companies. So if they used to work at a software company, it will include them in this search, but I don't want that. I want them to be working at one now. Well, now using Clay is your chance to do so. We want to output the industry, and then we can basically see, okay, any of these that aren't software development, we can just remove them. So I want to add a checkbox field, and then I'm going to say, I want to name it is like software company for question mark. And I'm being very naive here because technology information could be a software company, but for now, I'm just going to say no, just for simplicity of this video. What I would actually do though is use like an AI agent to look on the website and say, hey, does it fit 1, 2, 3 criteria? If it does, it is a software company. So I'll just say if industry is software development. And some are true, some are false. And then we got 4 out from the output there. And then of course, then we'll continue. So what I'm now going to do is I have 117 rows here, which I believe is all of the rows. And I'm going to run it for everyone. Let's see what we get. Yep, run it all. And I'll pause it for now, and then when it's done, I'll come back. Okay, so just to bring up to speed, in case maybe I was going a bit too fast, let's walk through what we've done so far. So initially we came onto LinkedIn and we built a search based off of people on our first degree connections that worked at software development companies that had a title of founder or CEO. We then took that and we basically copied the URL and we went onto a tool like Unipal to be able to pull that information programmatically. We then actually hooked that up with NAN, which means that we could create a workflow in NAN where every single day it will run the flow. Now, when it runs the flow, it gets the first connections and sends it to a Clay table. Now, once it gets to a Clay table, it enriches their information to get more info about who is the person, who is their company. And from there, we're then deciding to only move ahead with those that are software companies. Now, I can add a filter here and say, is software company checked? And around half of them are actually software companies. So as you can see, it's important to do this because not all the time they're going to be a software company. Now, what we want to do from here is another step. We can then go to find jobs from this table. And how do we do that? I've almost forgotten. We want to click add, and we want to add a new table. And we want to do find jobs. And when you find jobs in Clay, you can find jobs against a list of other companies. So we can basically use the table we just built and say, hey, we only want to find jobs from that table we just built. So if I come here and I hit this webhook table and hit select, this isn't going to work because what we need to do first is we need to use a company identifier column, which we don't have yet. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to extract the URL of the company and just say company LinkedIn URL and hit create. And now I have this column which I can then use to reference to find the open jobs. So I'll go again and I'll say jobs and I'll hit find jobs and I'll do company, the same table, but this time when it comes to the company identifier, I'm going to choose the right column. And now we should have a few open jobs. And as you can see, you've got a few here. And what you're going to notice is a lot of the time, a lot of them are going to be from a similar company because, of course, companies don't often hire, and the ones that do hire quite a lot, and that's just how the things are, which means you can limit it and say, hey, I only want one per company. Now, I wouldn't say so because if Alpha Sense are hiring, I believe like 10 times, maybe they're struggling to ramp up, which means they really need a recruiter like you. So I'll just leave this empty, and I will just, again, it depends. Okay, another great example, if you only hire for sales roles, then you'd come in here and put, account executive, BDR, go to market. Oh, account executive, go to market, and then you'll do this. And now you can see you have all the sales roles, and I don't know, you can have so much more. SDR. And for now, I'm just going to leave this as this is for now. Posted in the last 30 days. And then we only have these companies, let's say 60 days. Then we have these. And then I'll just hit continue. And now you can see how quickly we've basically got a list of open jobs of personnel that are in our first degree connections. And the first degree connection, we know the founders. We don't know the customer success manager. We know the founder or the CEO, which means that we can actually start to drive a conversation with them because their inbox is right in front of our eyes. I can come right here to who has an open job for me that I can message. I'm not going to message them, but AlphaSense. So now who is it that worked at AlphaSense? If I come here, if I go down here, we can see AlphaSense was this guy Lauren. If I now click on Lauren, open up the URL, I can see that Lauren is the sales director, and she's also a founder. So now this is an interesting one, and it's kind of caught me out. This is back to the LinkedIn issue. If someone's a founder at another company they're present at, they may also come up in the feed. Now, because she's a sales director, I actually would message her, but let's do this live. How would I fix this issue? But I'd come back and I would say, okay, you're a founder, in your own business, but I want you to be a founder at AlphaSense. So I would have just came here, and then I would have just gone back to their latest experience, and I would have looked at the title, and I would have pulled it in like so. And I would have changed it as, I would have made it current title. And now I can add a column here where I can say, you see how I'm dealing with this on the fly? I kind of like, oh, my bad. I did something wrong. I changed the type of this. I was trying to make a new column text. I'm going to insert a column on the right, and I'm going to call it is founder, why am I shouting? /CEO. And then I will just come here, and in natural language, I will tell the formula if current title contains founder or CEO, I'll put true, otherwise false. And then I'll do that. And then most of them are founders, but not all of them. And now what I would then do in this enriched company, I would only run if URL is present. Ooh. Hello guys. If URL is present and the current and is founder or CEO is true. And I'll hit that, and I'll hit save and run all the rows, whatever. And now, as you can see, some of the rows now are no longer run because she's not a founder or a CEO. And so if I now probably refresh it, it's going to then remove all of those rows. It's clear. And I'll say it's software. And now we should have around 30 exactly. And now all of these people, then we can rerun this table and actually pull out the ones that actually do work at roles where they are some kind of a founder. So yeah, so very, very quick workflow, and kind of showing you how you can so easily take your existing connections and start to drive conversations. The next thing I would do is add these guys to a Lemlist campaign. You're already connected with them. Maybe just send a message, a very, very brief message. Even give them a call. Hey, you might know these people. Give them a call. Start a small conversation. Start to drive stuff forward with people you already know. It's not everyday run to cold emails when you have warm, hot emails in front of you. So food for thought, leverage it, leverage Clay, leverage NAN. There's going to be a link somewhere around here to join my newsletter. I'll talk about this stuff all the time in a lot more depth, in a lot more longer form. Check it out. God bless, and I'll speak soon. Bye-bye. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.